How's it, guys? Good evening. Welcome to our new cycling show. We haven't really come up with a big name for it just yet, but we're going to roll with H&T for now. My name's Henry. This is Tony. Just quickly going to introduce myself. I'm Henry Ace, and I've raced professionally for a couple of years, a few years ago. I'm not going to give away my age. I'm not that old. And been following racing, been racing competitively for many years, also been following the professional guys overseas quite a lot, and often find myself, kind of like wondering why the commentators aren't really giving a bit more in terms of educating the riders, so I'm going to try my hand at this. T's also very experienced, so I'm going to hand over to him. He can give you a bit more information on his experience. I think he's got a little bit more than me.
Well, thanks, H. That's kind of you. Not really on the riding side, though. More on the management side. That H&T, G&T would have sounded a bit better, but then we might not be able to talk too well without slurring it. Getting back to it, I've been in cycling for a long time. Fortunately to have been involved with a lot of our national team riders. Had a lot not to do with his career, but I did manage the likes of Daryl Impey. I've worked with Chris Froome. I had a lot to do with our first ever stage win in the Tour de France, Robert Hunter. So I've been around for a while. I was fortunate enough to be the manager of the cycling at 2 Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games. The great Commonwealth Games that I went to was 2006 when David George won a silver medal for us. That same year I was the manager of the national team where we won the only national team to have won the Tour de Langkawi outright. But I find when we sit and we watch TV, yes, we can be cheering about the guys in a second bunch. There's a group of riders 6 minutes up the road, and everyone you watch TV with, they're always like, guys, what's the big deal? Those guys are 6 minutes up the road, man. They're going to have this easy. Those are the kinds of things we're hoping to explain to you, how it works and why you don't have to win a stage to be the winner overall.
Very, very true. As you can gather by now, Tony knows a lot more people than what I do in the cycling fraternity, and been a lot further in terms of where he's been seeing racing and tactically from a behind the scenes perspective. So we're hoping that combined experience that we have in terms of cycling, racing, tactics, the riders that we know and how obsessive we are about it, that we're going to be able to bring an active, exciting side of the racing to you guys, and really just get you engaged in the sport and get engaged in the racing and understand it from a perspective that actually makes it exciting to watch. And I tend to scream at the screen quite a bit when the guys are messing up and when the guys are doing well, so we are obsessive about it, and we're quite proud of it. So what we aim to do for this show is we're going to firstly try and aim at educating you guys. So Tony, you can give us a bit more about the educating side of things?
Well, guys, on the education, it's small things. 21-day stage race, the biggest stage race in the world, happens to take place in a beautiful country of France. It does go through 3 other countries this year. Tomorrow the stage starts in Düsseldorf for the first time that it's ever been there. So, you're going to see beautiful scenery. I'm not going to be here to wax lyrical about the beautiful chateaus and like Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwin do. They've been doing it for many years. I couldn't pronounce half those names anyway. But we'll talk to you about, 21 teams riding, 9 riders per team, 21 stages, 2 rest days. Just little things, what a gutter is, how you ride a gutter, what to look out, how do you know when a gutter is going to take place, why a rider might go up the climb away from the bunch and his leader will be at the back and then he suddenly drops off. Why is he doing that? Can you win this event as an individual? No. Cycling is very much a team sport, and it's normally the guy with the strongest team that ends up on the podium on the Champs-Élysées at the end of this event.
Most definitely. So that's one of the aspects that we're going to cover. The other aspect that we're going to cover throughout these next 3 weeks with this big race in France is every stage we're going to analyze the stage. We're going to sit down, we're going to have a look at the stage, we're going to have a look at who it would suit. Once again, this is going to be part of the education side. We've got a time trial specialist. What does a time trial specialist look like? What profile does he fit? Does a mountain stage suit a climber or a time trialist? What are the builds? What are the likely sort of attributes of that kind of rider? We're also then going to take key moments in the race to unpack it. You know, what could Mark Cavendish have done there that he possibly cost him the race? What could Sagan have done there to try and get himself out of trouble? What did he do actually to get himself out of trouble, which made it such an amazing sort of result for him? So that's one of the other things we're going to do. And then lastly, we're also going to then preview the following stage. A bit more on that?
Yeah, well, I think before we get into the stages and everything, let's maybe talk about the GC or general classification contenders. You know, GC, that's the yellow jersey, the most important jersey to win in the Tour de France. There are 4 other competitions, but no one really, those are bonuses. If you get that in your team, it's an added bonus. Let's talk about the GC contenders. You know, who do we fancy as GC contenders? You know, we have a man who's going for his 4th title, Chris Froome, Kenyan-born, South African, raised, schooled, and now riding Team Sky with a British passport. We know Chris very well. You've ridden with Chris.
Yeah.
I've looked after Chris at World Champs before, when I found him running around the streets of Austria like a drowned rat on his bicycle, because his federation at that time didn't have the money to fund him properly, and he came in and he hooked up and he stayed with the South Africans. So, you know, we talk about Chris Froome. He's done it before. He has a pedigree. He's coming into this tour. Chris is a big numbers man. He works his power meter, he works his numbers, and he says he's feeling good. He hasn't won the Criterium de Dauphiné this year, which he has done before, and a lot of times the winner of that race actually carries that form through to win the tour.
Yes.
But we have a look. He reckons his numbers are right. He's got to be one of the big contenders. Okay. Other big contenders have got to be his ex-teammate, who helped him win 2 Tour de France's, who now rides on an opposing team. That's BMC's, the Aussie Richie Porte. He's been riding phenomenally well this year. He looks good. I just don't know if Richie can put it together for 21 days. He's got a good team of riders around him. I think that could be one of Chris's biggest threats, though.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I think, you know, being a big fan of Chris Froome and obviously an ex-teammate. I've been an ex-teammate of Chris Froome. Write that down. So, as you say, very obsessed with the numbers, you know, very analytical, you know, down to the finest little detail. And I'd like to see him win, but I also think Richie Porte is by far his biggest danger man in the next 3 weeks. A lot of people might be turning around. There's a lot of attention at Nairo Quintana, the Colombian, that really flies uphill when he's going well. I don't think he's going to even feature in the top 5, and my reasoning behind that would just simply be, if he goes through and he finishes on the Champs-Élysées by the end of July, that guy would have completed 4 Grand Tours in the space of a year. In the space of 365 days, that guy's gone and competed at 4 Grand Tours. Not ridden them like Adam Hansen. Is it him? So Adam Hansen goes, he's done, I think he's on like 13, 14 consecutive tours, Grand Tours. Now we're talking Giro, Tour de France, Volta a España. Next year, Giro, Tour de France, Volta a España. He's completed them. He hasn't competed in them, trying to win it. Whereas Nairo Quintana, on the other hand, has been trying to do that. So this makes Nairo Quintana's 4th Grand Tour in a year. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near the podium. I actually think it's going to be a bad thing for him to even try and compete.
H saying that, you know, it's still by no means a 2, 3, 4 horse race. We've seen what's happened in past tours. A couple of years ago, Chris crashed out of the tour. 1 second. That's all it takes for you to lose concentration, go down, break a collarbone, and it's over. Okay, we've seen that happen. We don't wish it on anyone. That is the hard part of the sport. But, you know, so there are a couple of other boys, you know, don't discount us old guys. You know,
No.
You've got the Valverdes.
Yeah.
Don't ever write Valverde off. Yeah, he might be in the same team as Quintana, but there's a proper bike rider. Contador, you know, he's won the tour before.
Yes.
And I dare guess, if we had to scratch a little bit, you guys out there, you might be saying, oh, you two acts, what about Aru? Yeah, what about Aru?
Yeah.
There's another great bike rider. So, you know, there's 198 bike riders in this tour. Let's have a look. Maybe he's still a little bit too young. A guy who's definitely going to contest the white jersey. But last year he finished 8th in the tour. South Africa's own Louis Meintjes.
Yep.
Maybe he can move up a bit this year. We've watched him in some of the events this year not be scared to go with the top riders in the world and ride away from them.
100%.
So, this is really a very, very open tour. I don't think it's a one-horse race by no means.
No, 100%. I agree with you there. I think we've got a lot of contenders that are lining up. We have the obvious clear favourites that everybody's paying a lot of attention to. You've got Chris Froome that's sitting there doing interviews. How's he feeling about it? He's a past winner. He's defending champion. We expect him to be there. Richie Porte has been lighting up the scene this year in every single stage race he's got to. He's made a proper statement as to where he's at in terms of his form. So for him to be underestimated, you'll do that at your own peril. The other one, like you say, Aru,
H, I was chatting to our mate Robbie Hunt, who's over there now at the start, and he was actually saying to me, I said to him, Rob, so come on, who's your favourite? And he started laughing. I said, well, what's so funny? It's not a trick question. He said, mate, let me tell you, I think Aru's got a good chance. I said, what do you mean Aru's got a good chance? He said, if you've seen that guy this season on the big climbs, he said, and Aru wasn't attacking once. He was attacking 2-3 times on those climbs. The other guys weren't able to do it with him. So we can't discount anyone. Whether Aru's got enough wisdom, whether the team around him is strong enough right now to be able to pull it through, who knows? But we're not going to write anyone off.
Okay, guys, so what we want to do now is we want to aim to try and educate you guys a bit on what the Maillot Jaune really is and what the GC really is. So for the novice rider, when they look at a race and they see a guy win, tomorrow being the first stage of the tour, whoever wins that stage, he's got the yellow jersey. That's guaranteed. There's nothing that changes that. However, as the next few days unfold, you might find a situation where somebody wins the stage on Monday, but he doesn't get given the yellow jersey. Now, there's a very valid reason for that. The reason he doesn't get given the yellow jersey is because it's based on time. The guy that finishes the stage and has the least accumulated time is the one that ultimately is the leader or the yellow jersey of the tour. So what we're going to do now is we're going to aim to explain to you in a simple little format on how this actually would work. So, how the race for the yellow jersey works. The winner of the stage is the rider that has the quickest accumulated time, or the stage race is the rider that has the quickest accumulated time over all stages combined. Following slides are an example of a 4-stage tour, with 4 riders attempting to win the race. Each stage is suited to different types of riders. We'll go into different types of riders in later episodes of the show. Once again, this is the educational side of things. Okay, so let's carry on here. The next one. So here's a little bit of a table for you guys. Rider number 1, 2, 3, and 4 do the first stage of the race. Rider number 1 wins it in a time of 10 minutes. So he's got the red time there. He was the first one for the day. Second place was rider number 3. He finished the second behind. Rider number 4, 30 seconds behind. And rider number 2, he had a bit of a bad day. He finished down 1 minute and 9 seconds down on the lead. So as you can see in this table over here, rider number 1 gets the yellow number because he is now the leader of the tour, the quickest time. Day 2 comes along, and we have a stage finish there. The rider with the red number is rider number 4, who finished third the day before, and he has won that stage in a time of 59 minutes and 55 seconds. Rider number 1 finishes just behind him, 5 seconds behind him, so that gives him second place for the day. Rider number 2 is in third place. He's only 1 second behind second place. Rider number 3 has a bit of a bad day, finishes about 15 seconds down on everybody. If we have a look there, once we've calculated times again, look there how rider number 4, although he has won the stage, he has lost significant enough time from the day before and hasn't gained enough on day 2 to then put him in the yellow. So rider number 1 has managed to consolidate his time and stay in the yellow jersey as the leader of the tour. Notice how rider number 3 is only 21 seconds behind and rider number 4 is only 25 seconds behind now as a result of him finishing 5 seconds ahead of rider 1. On to stage 3 we go. The race gets a little bit more interesting now. The guys are now fighting hard. As you can see there, it seems that rider number 1 and rider number 2 had an epic battle out there. Rider number 2 comes out on top, puts in quite a bit of time to rider number 1.
Rider number 3 has also lost a bit of time, but not too much. Rider number 4 has a really bad day. He's about 6 minutes down by the end of that day, just on the stage itself. So if we have a look there at stage 3, what happens now? Rider number 2 has won the stage, and he's happened to gain enough time on rider number 1 to put himself into the yellow jersey. Why is he in the yellow? Simple. He's got the quickest time over the last 3 days. Irrelevant of where he finished on day 1 and day 2, the combined time gives him the yellow jersey. Rider number 3 finished second for the day. He's now sitting in second position on GC. If you have a look at the times there, only by 4 seconds ahead of rider 1. So rider 1 has actually gone from first position in general classification down to third position in the general classification. So you can see how this changes everything. Now we go to the last stage. The last stage is exciting as always, because everybody tries to give their last little bit at it. And there we go. Look what happens here. Rider number 4, that has lost tons of time over the last 3 days, has managed to take the stage. But as you can see there, rider number 3 has finished only a couple of seconds behind him, and rider number 1 and 2 have been eagle watching each other so much that they actually missed the break, and rider 3 and 4 have managed to sneak into that break right away and gain sufficient time to then give rider number 3 the overall lead as a result of this quick surprise that they did on rider number 1 and rider number 2. So here you have it. Rider number 3 ends up winning this 4-day stage race. He hasn't won a single stage. Rider number 4 has won 2 stages. He doesn't see a yellow jersey, not for that whole tour. This is how the GC classification works for any stage race. It's all about time. The rider that can be the most consistent in his time gains can be the one that ends up winning the tour.
Oh, there we go, so there's obviously big pots of prize money. Nothing like soccer, nothing like tennis, but let's give you some of those numbers we're talking about. If you take last year, the Brit won Wimbledon, Murray. It worked out that he won the equivalent of £2 million for about 15 hours of work at Wimbledon. If you take the overall winner of the Tour de France, the GC, yellow jersey winner, he wins about £438,000 for 3 weeks, which equates to about £7.55 per hour. So you can see the money, it's not all about the money. There are the endorsements that come after that. But these guys are really doing hard work, and they're coming nowhere near to what other sports people use. There are some football players who can look after a pro Conti team. They can sponsor that for a year on a month's salary.
Okay guys, so what we're going to do now, we're just going to briefly go through stage 1. We're going to cover stage 1 for the tour. Tomorrow is the individual time trial in Düsseldorf. It's covering 14 kilometers, barely any elevation gain. The profile is really flat. 14 kilometers long. Can you win the tour there? No, you can't win the tour there. But you're laying the foundations for a good tour there, and a good result there for the GC guys is important. But we have specialists that are there, and those specialists that are lining up can put out colossal amounts of power. So let's look at that now. Tony, who do you think is going to be your favorite to win in Düsseldorf tomorrow?
Well, the TT, the time trial, one man against the clock. It's often known as the race of truth.
Yeah.
And, it's you, your bike, the road, and the elements. If you got to look 14 Ks, not very far, not too tricky. Remember these bikes that they ride? A bike like this is great for going straight. Put it on a corner and
you just go straight.
You're going to have a bit of a problem. You don't want too much cornering. There are a couple of bends in this time trial circuit tomorrow on the route. My gut, I'm going to go with somebody like Tony Martin, only because he has a TT pedigree.
Okay, that's
also German.
German, yes. So he's on home turf. He's on home turf. He's going to Düsseldorf the time trial. Somebody that I've been keeping a close eye on the last couple of months is Lotto NL Jumbo Primož Roglič. He's got time trial pedigree written all over him. I think he's got a good chance of winning tomorrow. The interviews do speculate that he's out to try and dethrone Tony Martin on home turf. Also, on the time trialing side of things, Tony also did mention the straight line speed. It's all about aerodynamics. The more aerodynamic you are, the faster you can go. So, I figured I'd give you guys a bit of a preview on just how aerodynamic somebody can get. You give me 5 seconds, I'm going to show you just how aerodynamic I am.
Guys, you got to look out for this. I mean, be careful. If you see this out on the roads, run, pedal, to get out the way. This can get so aerodynamic. Skin suit has got nothing on what H is about to show you.
Okay, so when I go aero, as you can see, if I turn, that's muscle, bruh. This is aero. How aerodynamic is the helmet? How aerodynamic is the rider? What's the most aerodynamic position? What's the most aerodynamic clothing? This would make me very fast, and I'd probably beat Tony Martin in the time trial. I don't know how much watts he puts out, but I'm pretty sure I put out a bit more than that. We'll have to see. Maybe we can get a tweet from him, tell us how much power he puts out, and then I'll give him my file. We'll see.
We'll put H up to the challenge there. Well, like H just said, he's bragging about him having better power figures than Tony Martin. Let's see, maybe we put him to the test. We get him to do a little bit of a test for us and show us exactly what he can do. Tony Martin, special guy. He knows how to win. It's Dusseldorf. I still reckon he's the man to beat tomorrow.
Cool. Well, there you have it, guys. That's the show for the evening. We've gone through as much as what we could go through. We hope this has been useful for you guys. We hope you guys have learned something about the tour, and we aim to bring you as much information as possible. We aim to get the excitement up. We want to show you just how exciting this racing can be. T, thanks for being with me in this show. I phoned T up, said, hey T, let's start a show. Tony's like, sweet, we do the show. Let's see how it goes. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Catch up with us the next show. That'll be coming straight after the time trial stage, so you'll be able to see it on Sunday morning. Cheers.